Christmas dinner at the Harrison family home was an annual exercise in professional hierarchy disguised as holiday celebration. This year's theme centered on celebrating my brother James's recent promotion to junior analyst at Hartwell Investment Bank, a position that had transformed him from college graduate to family success story overnight. "James, tell everyone about your new responsibilities," Mom prompted proudly as she arranged the centerpiece around his business card, prominently displayed between the cranberry sauce and dinner rolls. Investment banking is such a prestigious field. At 26, James had finally landed what our parents considered a real job, after 2 years of entry-level positions that hadn't quite met their standards. His analyst role came with a respectable salary, business cards, and most importantly, a title that impressed relatives at holiday gatherings. "The work is challenging but rewarding," James explained to our assembled extended family, his confident tone suggesting he'd rehearsed this presentation. "Financial modeling, market analysis, client portfolio management. Real responsibility that affects people's investments. Real responsibility." I sipped my wine quietly from my assigned seat at the table's far end, the traditional position for family members whose careers remained incomprehensible to holiday conversation standards. "That's what actual success looks like," Dad announced to Uncle Robert, whose own accounting firm represented the family's benchmark for professional achievement. "Stable employment, clear advancement path, respectable income. Not like these tech experiments that come and go without warning." Tech experiments. While they celebrated James's $45,000 starting salary, my company had just closed our Series C funding round at a $5 billion valuation. But venture capital remained as mysterious to their understanding as my actual work developing AI-powered cybersecurity platforms. "Sarah's still playing around with computers," Mom explained apologetically to Aunt Linda, as if my presence required justification. "You know how these young people are with their websites and apps. Always convinced they're going to be the next big thing." The next big thing. CyberShield Technologies had already become the next big thing in enterprise security, protecting data for 73 Fortune 500 companies, but since our success existed in digital infrastructure rather than physical offices, it remained invisible to their measurements of legitimate achievement. "James has such a bright future ahead of him," Cousin Margaret observed approvingly. "Investment banking opens so many doors. Corporate leadership, financial consulting, maybe even starting his own firm eventually." Starting his own firm eventually. The irony was perfect. They praised James's potential for entrepreneurship while dismissing my actual entrepreneurship as impractical experimentation. "Sarah should really consider following James's example," Dad suggested with paternal wisdom. "Get serious about building a stable career instead of chasing these startup fantasies that probably won't exist in 5 years. Startup fantasies. CyberShield had been protecting critical infrastructure for 4 years, with government contracts, international partnerships, and revenue streams that exceeded James's entire bank's quarterly profits. But traditional employment apparently trumped technological innovation in the family hierarchy of serious careers. "The financial sector rewards hard work and proven expertise," James added confidently. "Not like tech where success seems random and temporary. Banking builds on centuries of established business principles." Established business principles. Our AI algorithms protected financial institutions from cyber threats that could collapse those centuries of established principles in minutes. But algorithmic protection remained theoretical compared to the tangible authority of investment analysis. Through the dining room windows, I could see an unusual amount of activity in our normally quiet neighborhood. Black SUVs, security personnel, the kind of coordinated presence that suggested someone very important was visiting the area. My phone buzzed discreetly with a message from my assistant. "Microsoft CEO confirmed arrival in 10 minutes. Acquisition announcement ready for your approval. Media embargo lifts at 8 p.m. The acquisition announcement. What my family didn't know was that tonight's Christmas dinner was about to be interrupted by the largest technology acquisition in cybersecurity history. Microsoft purchasing CyberShield for $12.8 billion. Making me the youngest woman ever to achieve a 10-digit exit in enterprise software. "Sarah's so quiet tonight," Mom observed with concern. "Are you feeling all right, dear? No work stress, I hope?" James never brings his work home. That's the beauty of traditional employment. Traditional employment. In approximately 8 minutes, my work stress, was going to walk through our front door and transform their understanding of what traditional success actually looked like in the 21st century. "I'm fine," I assured her. "Just enjoying listening to James's banking stories." "That's wonderful," Dad smiled approvingly. "Maybe you'll learn something about building a real career from your brother's example." Real career. The doorbell was about to ring, announcing the arrival of someone who would redefine their understanding of that phrase permanently. The Christmas dinner conversation continued with James as the undisputed centerpiece, each relative taking turns celebrating his entry into the prestigious world of investment banking. The dining room had become a shrine to traditional success, with his business cards still displayed prominently among the holiday decorations. "James closed his first client deal last week," Dad announced with obvious pride to the gathered family. "Real financial impact, measurable results. That's what happens when you commit to a serious profession with proven track records." Proven track records. James's first deal had involved routine portfolio rebalancing for a mid-sized retirement fund, standard work that any junior analyst performed daily. But in family mythology, it represented sophisticated financial expertise that commanded immediate respect. "The banking industry recognizes talent quickly," Uncle Robert observed approvingly. "James will probably make vice president within 5 years. That's the kind of advancement that comes from choosing the right career path." The right career path. While they projected James's hypothetical promotion timeline, CyberShield's actual trajectory had accelerated from startup to acquisition target in 48 months, growth that made traditional career advancement seem glacially slow. "Sarah could learn so much from James's strategic thinking," Mom suggested hopefully to the table. "Maybe consider finance herself. Banks always need people who understand technology. She could apply her computer skills in a more stable environment." Apply her computer skills in a more stable environment. The suggestion that my expertise might be useful as a support function for James's industry rather than the foundation of an entirely separate economic sector. "Technology support roles in banking pay very well," Cousin Margaret added helpfully. "Much more secure than these independent ventures that might not have revenue streams." Revenue streams. CyberShield's recurring monthly contracts exceeded $12 million. But since enterprise software subscriptions weren't visible like bank statements or investment portfolios, our financial success remained incomprehensible to their understanding. "James's work affects real people's financial security," Dad continued authoritatively. "Retirement planning, investment strategies, wealth building, that's meaningful impact you can measure and appreciate." Meaningful impact you can measure. Our cybersecurity platforms protected the financial data that made James's investment work possible, but digital security remained invisible until it failed catastrophically. Through the dining room's bay windows, the black SUVs had multiplied. Professional security details were establishing discrete perimeters around our neighborhood, the kind of protection protocols that accompanied Fortune 500 executives or government officials. "Sarah's always been the creative one in the family," Mom explained diplomatically when someone noticed my unusual quietness. "Artistic temperament, innovative ideas, but James inherited the practical mindset necessary for building sustainable wealth." Sustainable wealth. The Microsoft acquisition would generate more sustainable wealth in one transaction than James could accumulate through 40 years of banking promotions, but generational wealth creation apparently required traditional methods rather than technological innovation. "The financial sector has such clear metrics for success," James observed with practiced confidence. "Assets under management, client retention rates, portfolio performance. You always know exactly where you stand professionally." Clear metrics for success. CyberShield's metrics included threat detection rates, system uptime percentages, and prevented security breaches that saved client companies billions in potential losses. But cybersecurity success meant preventing disasters that never happened. Invisible achievements compared to visible portfolio growth. My phone rang quietly. Microsoft CEO was 30 seconds from our front door, accompanied by legal teams, media relations personnel, and the kind of executive entourage that transformed ordinary Tuesday evenings into business history. "Work calling again?" Dad asked with obvious disapproval. "Sarah, you're missing James's moment. This is about celebrating actual achievement, not getting distracted by whatever crisis needs immediate attention." Whatever crisis needs immediate attention. The call had been final confirmation that Microsoft CEO was personally delivering acquisition documents that would make me the youngest self-made woman to achieve billionaire status through enterprise software. James never gets work emergencies during family time, Mom added pointedly. That's the difference between established industries and these volatile startups that consume your entire life. Volatile startups. In 20 seconds, our Christmas dinner was about to be interrupted by the CEO of the world's largest software company, arriving personally to finalize the acquisition of my supposedly volatile startup. The doorbell rang with authoritative precision. Who could that be on Christmas evening? Mom wondered aloud, clearly annoyed by the interruption to James's celebration. I believe, I said calmly, standing to answer the door, that would be Microsoft. The front door opened to reveal Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, accompanied by a small entourage of executives and legal advisors. The sight of the world's most powerful technology leader standing on our suburban doorstep with acquisition documents was surreal enough to freeze our entire Christmas gathering. Good evening, Sarah, Nadella said warmly, extending his hand in greeting. I apologize for interrupting your family celebration, but we wanted to finalize the CyberShield acquisition personally before the announcement goes public. The dining room fell into absolute silence. James's business card suddenly looked very small next to the presence of someone who managed a company worth over $3 trillion. Mr. Nadella, I replied professionally, please come in. My family was just discussing career achievements in technology versus traditional finance. Nadella smiled knowingly as he stepped into our holiday-decorated living room, his executive team arranging legal documents on Mom's coffee table with practiced efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, he addressed our stunned gathering, you should know that Sarah has built one of the most sophisticated cybersecurity platforms in history. CyberShield's AI algorithms protect critical infrastructure for governments, banks, and multinational corporations globally. Dad's confident assertions about real careers died completely. Uncle Robert's accounting expertise seemed quaint compared to technology that protected entire national financial systems. The acquisition, Nadella continued, reviewing documents with his legal team, values CyberShield at $12.8 billion. Sarah will retain operational control while Microsoft provides global distribution channels and enterprise integration. $12.8 billion. The number hung in our Christmas-decorated dining room like a financial meteor that had just obliterated every assumption about success, achievement, and which family member had actually made it professionally. This represents the largest cybersecurity acquisition in Microsoft's history, one of the executives added for context. Sarah's innovations in AI-powered threat detection will become the foundation for enterprise security across our entire client base. James's investment banking suddenly seemed like a very small pond compared to technology platforms that protected trillions of dollars in global economic activity. We're particularly excited about CyberShield's financial sector applications, Nadella noted, glancing toward James. Your sister's algorithms currently protect over 60% of major investment banks from cyber threats that could destabilize entire markets. Investment banks, including almost certainly Hartwell Investment Bank, where James worked as a junior analyst analyzing portfolios protected by my cybersecurity systems. Sarah, Nadella continued, shall we proceed with the signature ceremony? The media embargo lifts in 15 minutes, and we want to coordinate the announcement properly. I looked around our dining room where my family had spent the evening celebrating James's entry-level banking position while dismissing my tech thing as impractical experimentation. Absolutely, Mr. Nadella. Though I should mention, this is my family's Christmas dinner. They were just explaining how technology careers lack the stability and respectability of traditional finance. Nadella's expression suggested he found this deeply amusing. Well, perhaps tonight will provide some updated perspective on technology sector stability. As Microsoft's legal team arranged signature documents worth nearly $13 billion on our holiday table, my family's comfortable certainties about career success and professional hierarchy crumbled completely. Their gifts looked small indeed compared to the acquisition announcement that was about to transform Christmas 2024 into technology acquisition history. The aftermath was immediate and comprehensive. Within minutes of Microsoft's public announcement, every major business publication was covering the largest cybersecurity acquisition in history, featuring photos of the signing ceremony at our family's Christmas dinner table. James's banking colleagues contacted him frantically when they realized their junior analyst's sister had just sold her company for more than their entire bank's market capitalization. His proper career seemed less impressive when his cybersecurity was managed by his supposedly unsuccessful sibling. Dad's dismissive comments about tech experiments became deeply embarrassing when neighbors discovered he'd spent Christmas mocking a billionaire entrepreneur whose innovations protected the global financial system. Corporate respect requires recognizing actual achievement, not just inherited hierarchies. Mom's traditional success metrics required complete revision when society pages featured our family as Microsoft's newest business partners, rather than parents of promising bank analyst. Her concerns about my unstable career path seemed misguided in retrospect. Uncle Robert's accounting firm suddenly seemed very small compared to technology platforms that generated 12-figure valuations. His expertise in traditional business principles couldn't explain why AI algorithms commanded such extraordinary market values. 6 months later, CyberShield's integration with Microsoft had revolutionized enterprise cybersecurity globally. James had learned to speak differently about his sister's work, not because he understood cybersecurity any better, but because dismissing billionaire tech executives made him look uninformed rather than traditionally grounded. The Christmas dinner table where Microsoft's CEO had delivered acquisition documents became family legend, the moment when their assumptions about proper careers encountered actual 21st century success. Sometimes tech things scale beyond imagination. Sometimes the family disappointment was building the infrastructure that everyone else just used.